Michelle Obama, the former U.S. First Lady, announced the death of her mother, Marian Robinson, at the age of 86. During the 8 years of Barack Obama's presidency, Ms. Robinson, also known as First Grandma, cared for the couple's kids and had a close relationship with her son-in-law. According to a family statement, she passed away on Friday morning. "My mom, Marian Robinson, was my rock, always there for whatever I needed," Michelle Obama posted on Instagram. "We are devastated to announce that she passed away today because she was our family's constant rock." Ms. Robinson wed Fraser in 1960. The couple had a daughter named Michelle in 1964 and a brother named Craig 2 years prior. Fraser passed away in 1991. She was persuaded to move into the White House in 2009 so she could be with the family, but she was originally from Chicago, and she passed away in the nation's second-largest city. The statement declared that there was and will be only one Marian Robinson. "The incredible gift of her life uplifts us in our sadness. She was a comforting presence at the White House, and her absence from Secret Service protection allowed her to go with them to and from school." In her memoir, Michelle Obama stated, "Without the steady hand and unconditional love of my mother, Marian Shields Robinson, I would not be who I am today. She has always been my rock. She lets me be myself without ever letting my feet stray too far from the ground. Her unwavering devotion to my girls and her readiness to put our needs ahead of her own gave me the peace of mind and self-assurance to face the outside world knowing my girls were loved and safe at home." Taking care of her granddaughters was not the only thing she did in the White House. Mrs. Robinson was able to travel freely from the White House to the President's box at the Kennedy Center to Las Vegas to visit her other grandchildren in Portland, Oregon, and to shopping excursions around town, all while maintaining an anonymity that the President and First Lady publicly invite. She did some media interviews, but never with the press from the White House. She was a guest at a few state dinners and attended a few White House activities, such as concerts, the annual Easter egg roll, and the lighting of the national Christmas tree. Marian Robinson avoided the limelight and gave few interviews. Michelle Obama, her daughter, once called her a sweet, witty companion who doesn't need the limelight. However, Robinson was granted the exceptional privilege of living relatively freely in the White House, free from the typical scrutiny that befalls every first family, all the while taking advantage of the benefits that come with being the president's mother-in-law. This privacy was jealously guarded by the Obamas. She may not have imagined as a child growing up in Chicago that her daughter would become the First Lady of the United States. She said to Barack Obama on election night while holding his hand, "Well, it's just a little overwhelming, isn't it?" Robinson played a special and important role in the White House, even though he initially did so reluctantly. Her granddaughters, Melia and Sasha, experienced a degree of normalcy in her life as the cherished first grandma. In 2019, President Obama stated, "I've always appreciated her steadiness, her perspective, and the way a wisecrack from her reverberates around the room." The former president honored the extraordinary gift of her life in a statement following her death on Friday at the age of 86. Marian Lois Shields, a deeply segregated Chicagoan, was born on the south side of the city in 1937 and raised in a modest home with 7 siblings. In 1960, she tied the knot with Fraser Robinson IE, a pump operator for the Chicago Water Department. Together, they had 2 kids. Craig was born in 1962, and Michelle followed 2 years later. Robinson was a bank employee and a secretary before she decided to become a stay-at-home mom. Michelle Obama frequently discusses her upbringing on Chicago's South Side, the impoverished neighborhood with a sizable African-American community. Chicago's public schools continued to actively oppose racial integration into the 1960s. Marian Robinson, a proud mother, and Fraser Robinson put a lot of effort into making sure their kids could attend some of the top universities in the nation. Even after receiving a multiple sclerosis diagnosis, Mr. Robinson kept up his full-time job, and the two took out covered loans to pay for the tuition. "We just wanted our children to understand that a good education was their ticket to a better life, a chance to have more and be more," Robinson once stated. Craig and Michelle both graduated from Ivy League universities, so it paid off. In the podcast, Michelle Obama talks to her brother about their childhood conversations with their parents, which were open and honest and in which there was never a question that was too embarrassing to ask. "She always took us seriously, carefully considering what we had to say and responding with thoughtful questions and plenty of encouragement," said Mrs. Obama. As a result, Her brother's scores on a sexual education test were so high that his parents were summoned to the school by concerned teachers. The 31-year married Fraser Robinson IA passed away in 1991. Before moving to the White House in 2009, Marian continued to reside in the Chicago family home. Grandma first. Robinson moved into the White House kicking and screaming when the time finally arrived, according to her son. She was hesitant to leave her friends, weekly yoga classes, and the itty-bitty house she had lived in for decades because she had never lived anywhere other than Chicago. She valued her independence. She remarked to People magazine at the time, "The White House reminds me of a museum, and it's like, how do you sleep in a museum?" She did, however, quickly adapt and assumed the special role of first grandma to the Obama's daughters, Malia and Sasha, who were then 7 and 10 years old. "This is the easiest job I've ever had. I just get to be grandma," she stated in a 2017 Essence magazine article. Robinson taught the girls how to do their own laundry in addition to insisting on doing her own. To ease the stress of the 3-car, at least 4-armed security guard ride, she accompanied Malia and Sasha in the motorcade to school. She took the girls to play dates, dance classes, and piano lessons. She was the constant in a life for Barack and Michelle Obama full of travel, tours, and long days. "Grandma was there when I wasn't home at the end of the day," Michelle stated in a 2018 CBS interview with Gayle King. In her podcast, Michelle recalls that sleepovers at Grandma's were the biggest night of the week, because you get them food that they shouldn't be eating. They slept in your bed, they kicked you out of your bed, I can't believe it, you let them tear up your house and make forts out of the couch. White House life. The matriarch made the most of her new life in Washington, D.C. by attending dinners, concerts, and Kennedy Center events where she could sit in the president's box. She quickly learned to love her new life in the city. Michelle Obama stated in 2009 that she has a very full social life, so much so that sometimes we have to plan our schedule around her schedule. Robinson was not nearly as identifiable as her daughter or son-in-law, but she was still able to live her life as she pleased, wandering the city and leaving the White House unguarded. "I'm going home" was her go-to phrase whenever she went upstairs from her suite on the 3rd floor of the White House. Robinson traveled with the first family on several occasions, both for official business and pleasure. In 2014, she went to China with her daughter and granddaughters while Barack Obama was not present. She gave a rare glimpse into her close relationships with Michelle, Malia, and Sasha, and it was clear how the 4 of them were bonded. Robinson remained in the background with the sisters as her daughter took center stage. In a heartfelt moment between the two, Michelle's heels were moved aside as the First Lady changed to flats to skip rope with a few students. Helpful mother-in-law. At first, Robinson opposed Barack Obama's presidential candidacy. "I had the impression that life would be difficult." In 2018, she confided to Gayle King, "I was concerned about the girls and about their safety." But over time, she came around to the notion and eventually turned into one of his strongest backers. The now famous image of the couple holding hands quietly on election night, as word spread that he would be the next president, personified her peaceful support for her family. Many will remember Marian Robinson as the devoted, practical, and tough-minded matriarch of the White House.